how's it going? It's Alex Higginbotham here with Zombie Survival and Defense Wiki, and we're going to be talking about lockpicking today. It's a real easy thing to learn. It's cheap to get the equipment you need, and it comes in pretty handy. Even for non-illegal purposes, I use it kind of a lot. It comes in really handy. Let's go over what kind of tools you're going to need to start. Alright, these are tension wrenches, and basically all these are little bent pieces of metal that you stick into the lock that you use to apply lateral force to the lock to get it to open. Here you have basically picks, and each one of these, if you can notice the different tips on them, if I can get it to focus, these are individually designed to push individual pins. Now these right here are rakes, and what these are is these are meant to manipulate multiple pins at the same time. Now this kind of ties into different ways that you can pick a lock, and I will explain that in a bit. Now once you get your picks, which you can pick up a lot of different pick sets really cheaply, you're going to need some way to learn how to do it effectively. Now you can pick up literature about lockpicking. This specific book right here has a lot of good information in it. It's a really good way to start learning how to pick locks. It only costs a couple dollars. I've actually seen some pick sets, they throw this book in for free. You can learn how to pick locks just with this little like 30 or 40 page book. Now, to get a little more in depth, I picked up this a while back. It's the Complete Guide to Lockpicking. It's got a lot more tricks in it, but essentially covers the same thing that the $2, $3, or even free, however you got it, book covers. So now that you got that, you've read up on it, you understand how pin tumbler locks work, you've got your rakes, your picks, and your tension wrenches. Now you're going to need a lock. I picked this up from Southord. This was actually kind of expensive, but I got kind of tired of picking around on like locks around my room and whatnot. And what this is just a stand, and it holds a lock in it, and it comes with 5 different locks, and all it is just a lock. Now if you notice by the numbering on these, each one of them is numbered 1 through 5. The number 1 lock has 1 pin in it to pop. The number 2 has 2, and so on and so on. So the 5th one is going to be harder to pick than the first one. The first one is actually extremely easy to pick. You don't have to put out the money to get something like this. You can pick the lock on your front door if you want. It will take you a little bit more time because most pin tumbler locks are a 5-pin lock. They can prove to be difficult sometimes, especially when you're just learning how. So something like this is really nice to kind of work your way up. You get the feel for how to manipulate pins, you get the feel for how to rake, and it's really a good step-up tool. You gotta walk before you can run. But if you don't want to put out the money for it, you can learn just picking a 5-pin tumbler lock. Like I said, it will be more difficult starting out, but if you stick with it, you'll definitely learn what you're doing and you'll get good at it. First thing I'm going to go over is how to set up to get ready to pick a lock. Alright, you got your lock right here, and you're going to want to pick a tension wrench that's going to fit to the point where the jagged edge at the bottom of the lock is going to hold it in place. That way you can put pressure on it going both ways, and it's not going to fall out. Alright, now once you get that set in there, you got to decide, hey, which way does the lock turn. 9 times out of 10, your lock is going to turn away from the closest door jamb. These locks specifically turn both ways, just as a training aid. But let's say this was on a door, and my handle is right here, and the door jamb's right here. I'm going to want to turn it to the right. Now, if the handle's here and the door jamb is here, I'm going to want to turn it to the left. I've screwed up before and turned it the opposite direction, and once you do that, you've wasted a whole session of picking. So, because you got to start over and do it again. So, once you get your tension wrench there, while you're picking the lock, you're going to have to keep consistent pressure in the direction that you want it to spin open. And we're going to pretend that the door's right here, and I'm going to open it this way. So I'm going to put slight downward force on this tension wrench. And since this is just a one pin tumbler, I'm going to take one of my individual picks just to pick at the one pin, and I'm going to insert it with the pick pointing up on the lock right above my tension wrench. Now when you dig in there, you drag it back and you're going to feel where the pin is. Actually, yep, there it is. Accidentally unlocked it. Just drag real slowly with upward pressure, and I already got it, see? There, reset the lock, and you're going to feel that pin. You can even look in there and look at it, and just individually push that pin up, and if you're putting the correct amount of pressure on this tension wrench, it's going to unlock the door for you. Now, one of the harder things about lock picking that I think is judging how much tension you need on this wrench. If you push it too hard, the lock won't open, and if you're not pushing it hard enough, the lock won't open. There's a trick in one of these books that says if you can insert a little push pin and run a rubber band from your tension wrench to that push pin, if you get the distance right, it'll give you the right pressure every time. So let's step up to something a little bit harder so I can demonstrate a different picking method. Okay, like I discussed with the individual pin picking, you can do that on a 5-tumbler lock, and it's actually what I prefer to do. It takes a little bit longer and it takes some more practice to get used to it, but we're switching up to a 3-pin tumbler right now, and what we're going to do is a technique we call raking. Now, you saw individually when you push the pins up and get them to set in their correct spot, the lock will pin by pin unlock. This method is considered easier by a lot of people, but I never really got that good at it. It's called raking. And basically with raking is you take a pick that is considered a rake pick, you insert it into the lock, and underneath the pins you push it all the way to the back. Now once you get your tension on it, you just drag your rake across the pin, back and forth. This is supposed to be in a smooth motion. Like I said, I never got that good at it. But it's basically going to manipulate all the pins at one time, pushing them up and down and up and down. And when you've got pressure on your tension wrench, it should pop everything into place. And hopefully I can get it to do it for the sake of this video, but like I said, I'm not very good at rake picking. I got a couple of them to drop, but I couldn't get them all. Let me try a different one. There we go. Simple, simple, simple. Not a big fan of it myself. I feel like I can get a better feel for what I'm doing if I can individually get in there and push every single pin up. But with this technique, you can get locks unlocked. And all you're doing is, let's say all these pins are sitting in there and you're just digging across them and they're jumping up and down. Well, eventually they're all going to hit where they need to go and the lock will spin. That's an easier way for people to start out until you can understand the concept of exactly how the locks work, and you can get the feel for individually going in there and pressing up every pin. So that's a good starting technique if you want to learn how to do it that way. If you get good at it, it is faster that way than to do it by individually picking a pin. So that's probably something I should work on. But let's move up to a harder lock. Okay, now we have the 5-pin tumbler in here. Now, just about every lock that you're going to find, doors, padlocks, anything, except for like cars and stuff. Those are different locks altogether. These are only ways you can pick tumbler locks. A 5-pin tumbler is the industry standard for a lock. So let's say you get one of these things and you get good at doing 1s, 2s, and 3s, and you're like, okay, screw it, I'm going to go unlock a door. Well, you're going to have to start working on the 5, because the 5 is what they use on every major lock. Now, I might have to put this in fast forward depending on how long it takes me. But I'm going to pick the 5-pin and give you kind of a time frame. Somebody that's got a little bit of experience doing it and how long it's actually going to take me. So